everyone, Jen here. Today I'm going to share with you the finished folio that I shared a sneak peek for. This is done using the leftovers and some things from my stash that I had with this for this collection from my design team package last time, which was the G45 Autumn Greetings. If you saw my previous project, that was the 7x9 album. So what I'm using here is leftovers from that, and like I said, things from my stash. There are a couple things that I have used on here that are no longer available. One, actually I think there's just one, which is this glitter cardstock that I have in the background. It is the brown, but Craft Perfect in the store. There's Tonic Craft Perfect, and there's lots of options for this glittery or a foiled cardstock that you could use instead of that, instead of what I've used. It still will match very, very well. There's a ruby colored glitter, and then of course there's one very close to this that is a foil. So I would suggest those, and I'll put those suggestions in my description below. So what I used for this is Artisan Craft for my base, and I used the 65-pound white smooth for all of my matting. And I had quite a bit of the Spanish Moss, my colors, in my stash because I absolutely love that color and I love using it for fall projects. So I keep quite a bit of that on hand for fall. So what I have for you, besides this walkthrough, I do have a tutorial on making the base and the flips and the pages. I do not have a video doing the decorating. This is an extra project, but what I will do is tell you the measurements as I go through my walkthrough. So also in my stash, I had the moss green colored seam binding. Also, I used some of the wine seam binding. In here, I did some fussy cutting from the paper and put these little guys on front. And I will tell you that my mats, so they're all 1/8 of an inch shorter. So this is a 5x7 folio. So as I matted, I just went 1/8 of an inch, except for this middle piece, which is 1/4 of an inch shorter, so that I had a little bit more of that yellow showing. Then on the back here, I used one of the chipboard pieces and some little brads from my stash that matched to pop this up across the brown. So this doesn't have as much matting. Obviously, we don't have as many pieces on the front. This is one of the frames here. And to get this really flat, I will tell you just a quick tip. The frame has an open inside, and you don't want this to move. So just add a piece of chipboard that fits into that hole of the frame, and it will work perfectly. So let's dive into the inside of this. For the inside, the first one here, I have pockets that go up. So you have 3 pockets. This one goes all the way inside, and I have a little photo mat that I made in here. The photo mat that fits nicely in here is going to be a 4x6.5. And that just pops right in there and will go all the way down. And on this one, I just put a little piece in here. This one will also go all the way inside. They each will do that the way this was done. Just some fun little elements popped inside that pocket. Over here, we have a side pocket. And this is just a piece of the decorative paper that I popped up to make a tuck pocket. And then we have that fun, this is some of the stickers, fun little photo mat there. Let's open this to the middle. Now this one was a super fun and new idea that I had. I took one of the cut apart journaling cards and I put it on green paper, and then I just glued the sides so that I could slip something through. So this can go all the way through here if you want. You could even put something bigger. And then we just have a fun little journaling card here. Or a photo mat. This is 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it just slides right in there so you can see that pop of orange at the bottom. Fits nicely. There's a magnet in here, and this pops open to reveal area here for photos, area down here for photos. And I did have the rub-ons in my stash. They are absolutely beautiful. So I highly suggest those. 4 1/4 by 5 1/4 is what I did this one. The other side just has a strip. I used mostly scraps to make this, so you will see a lot of little strips, and I'm having a little issue with my pocket here. I'm not quite sure what's holding it up. Must have a little piece of paper there that wants to, there we go, I fixed it. This is just one of the stickers here, little border stickers, so that magnet's closed. And then the fun is over here. This is our little pull out. So I will untie this. This is the wine seam binding. I have one of the stickers here. One of the little stamps popped up on some of that glitter paper, and you can put a photo here. I wanted to keep this part nice and flat because we have bulk here. And on the other side, when we close it, we don't want too much bulk sticking up to close the cover. So this, I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. So we can pull this way. I have an area here for a big photo. Here I have a nice little photo mat and a tuck pocket. This is 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. Tucks right in that little tuck spot. I'm going to close that and then open it again. And I love how this page turned out. So we have a little belly band here. One of the little stamps popped up on the Spanish Moss My Colors. A little photo mat here. And a larger photo mat in the background. Now this one fits nicely in the belly band, is a 4 by 6. And then you can put any size on the top. And then of course that. And then here we have a little pocket using one of the little cut aparts, and I made a tag and just popped in a couple little things from the cutting of the cut apart of the sheets. And then this also turns this way. You have a fun little pocket here. This one is 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, and that just slides. And then I just cut down from a scrap piece that I didn't want to throw away, obviously, of one of the back sides of the little cut apart journaling cards. I just put that up there so you could put a picture here, add a little journaling there. Over here we have a belly band with a photo mat using some leftover scrap as well as a little bit of the rub-ons. And I have a 3 1/2 by 5 1/2 that fits nicely in that belly band. And then we turn again, and we have this one, little angled pockets, and a 3 1/2 by 6. One of the stickers, some of the scraps of paper I put on the side. I just love how this collection coordinates. The colors, the fall colors are just beautiful. And then over here we have an actual gusseted pocket, so you could fit more in there. And I have a 4 by 6 photo mat in there, and on the back side it is white. So let me just show you how this pulls out, and I'm going to start over here so that you can see. So this will come all the way out like so, and like so. Fun, huh? Love this. All right, so I'm going to tie this all shut. And like I said, I do have a tutorial for the base. As far as your matting goes and your decorative papers, all of mine, with the exception of the cover, like I said, are 1/8 of an inch different from each of the pages. So my white will be 1/8 of an inch both ways, top and bottom, side to side, so horizontal and vertical, 1/8 of an inch shorter than what this is. And then the decorative paper is 1/8 of an inch both ways shorter than that. And I did that throughout. Okay, so I hope that you have enjoyed this fun little folio I made as an extra project. This is probably going to be a gift for someone. I have a lot of friends and family that love fall, and they will just love this. So that is all I have for today, and I hope that you get this paper while it lasts if you're doing fall projects. Let me tell you, this paper is gorgeous. I still have some left over, and I may make something else. So stay tuned. Bye-bye. So for this, we're going to make a base first, and this will require a 12 by 7 inch piece of, I'm using Craft Artisan, and then we'll have an add-on piece that will attach to this. This is 4 3/4 by 7. So first you're going to put the 12 by 7 in your scoreboard with the 12 across the top. We're going to score that at 5 and at 5 7/8, which is going to give us a 7/8 inch spine here. Then you're going to score it at 10 7/8 and at 11 5/8. Okay? This you do not need to do any scoring. What you're going to do with this is I'm going to pull my scoreboard out because I really don't, well, no, you know what? I kind of need to use it. I hate using it because then I get glue all over it usually. I need to get the little mat that goes inside of here, and I keep forgetting to order it. So we're just going to put glue on that last amount of where we scored. So you have that little bit left there. Get a good amount of glue. You can use score tape as well, but I'm using glue. And then I'm just going to butt this up so that that score line is right in line with the 8. And there's 3/8 of an inch of room there, I do believe. So we want to make sure that this goes to the score line, but not over it. And then I'm going to pull it out to burnish it so I don't get glue. I just cleaned my scoreboard, so all that glue and gunk that gets in there is out. Let's do this on both sides. And then I just want to double check. So we should have a 5 inch and then a 7/8 and then a 5 inch, a 3/4, and then a 4 3/4 at the end. Okay, so this is your base. Super simple. Let me show you how this folds. So we're going to fold where we scored first, and it's not sticking. I'm going to have to let that one. Let's set this aside and let it dry. We'll go ahead and score the other pieces really quick. So again, we're going to have 2 pieces. One that is 12 by 6 3/4 and one that is 7 by 6 3/4. This one, the 12 by 6 3/4, you're going to score it at, did I do that right? Yes. So we're going to score this at 1/2 inch, at 5 inches, at 9 1/2 inches. Okay. Set that aside real quick. Grab the other one, put it in with the 7 and the 6 3/4 this way. And you're going to just score this one at, it's very hard to see craft. Yes, we're going to score this at 2 1/2. And that's the only place you need to score that one, because that's going to leave you a 4 1/2 inch here. Okay. Now this one is a little trickier. The end, oh, I had water on my desk. Goodness. So this end that is shorter, where we scored at the 9 1/2, you want to go ahead and fold that score line, line everything up nice and neat with the paper on the top and the bottom. And once you have that score line burnished, then we want to take this and bring this up to the 0. And then your other piece, we want to make sure that we have 4 1/2. So the score line that we did here, you want to line up with the 4 1/2. And I am going to add a little, I'm going to use score tape actually on this, just because I don't want to mess up. So what I have here is, let's see, if I was to have this all together, it would be 9, so 5, so 1/2 inch will work. I am going to grab some 1/2 inch score tape. And I want to put this right on the edge too. So, because we don't have a lot of playroom, I want this to go right up to that edge. It's trying to stick before I stick it, if that makes any sense. Tear that off. And I'm going to burnish this tape down really well. And go ahead and peel that off. This is a fun folio that goes together pretty quickly. So you could very easily make several of these probably. and give them as gifts. So I have this with my score line to the left on the 4, and that puts this score line at 6.5. You have this with your last 4.5 inches showing here, and that score line, and we want to make sure that this does not go beyond. We want this to be right at that 8.5, the score line that we made. If the 1/2 inch tape is a little too much, that's okay, as long as you get that 4.5 in there. Okay, so now what you have is a 1/2 inch and 4 panels that are 4.5. Okay, so what you want to do, we're going to go ahead and miter where we did our 1/2 inch score line here at the very beginning. Just miter those edges right at the score line and up, because this is a 1/4 inch shorter than our folio itself, than our base. It doesn't go all the way top and bottom to the page, so we want to just make sure. And we are going to pull this in. Now your first score line, you want to fold over to the left. Make sure everything is lining up before burnishing. It's kind of like an accordion, how this pulls out. Then the next one, you're going to fold back. Again, line everything up and burnish. And then the last one is going to fold over. And again, I'm just lining everything up end to end with my papers. It gets a little harder to do that with the scoreboard when you have this many, but it is doable. All right, so this is what you have. This will open like so, and it will close like so, okay? I am gonna burnish this better. This is gotta be nice and burnished. I'm gonna go ahead and pull my scoreboard out. Don't need that right now. In fact, we probably won't need that at all until we get to some of the pockets. I'm gonna go ahead and burnish this a little better with a different scoring tool, because some tools work better than others. This one is a little flatter than that one. And I want a really good burnish, so. All right, there we go. So grab your base that we made. Make sure that the add-on piece we put on is to the end. That one is a little bit shorter. Yes, that's correct. Had to think about that for a minute. And then you want to burnish out your, I forgot to burnish the gusset here, this 1/2 inch that we made. And we're just going to go in and add glue to that gusset only, just the 1/2 inch. And you want to pull this in. Did I do that upside down? No, I didn't. This needs to be like so. So you have your piece here, your 1/2 inch gusset. You just want to grab your base. And I am just going to, boy, that score line does not look very even. We shall see. I want to butt this up so I have 1/8 of an inch on both the top and the bottom left over. I don't want any overlapping, but it does need to meet the top of that. So just make sure you get that on there nice and even. And then burnish that glue. I'm going to pull this all the way open so I can burnish my glue on the inside. All right. And now I did put that on upside down. Okay, so now that it's attached, we'll fold it correctly. So this one goes back, forward, and then back is how that goes. I mean, you can do it either way. Either way it works. So it comes out like so. And it'll pull both ways. And I am just going to clip that down. And we are going to go ahead and fold our spine pieces, which will be a little bit harder because of that add-on, and the score line is right next to it. Sometimes that causes a little grief, but we can do it. And then this one. Lining up my paper. And you could do this with like a lightweight chipboard if you wanted it a little sturdier. I just chose to do it with the Artisan cardstock because it works just fine. All right, so this is what you will have. As soon as I burnish this one, I'm going to have to open this actually, so I can get a good burnish here. I'm going to line everything back up. Burnish this on both sides. All right, there we go. So this is what you have. You have your pullout. This will close here. This goes over the top of that. And it will be a little thicker, so this holds together a little bit better. And then we'll have a tie that closes it. There's going to be a piece on the front. The tie will wrap around. Okay? So that's the base and the pull-out portion. I am going to end this portion of the video, and I will be back, and we will add some pockets, and we will do some matting and decorating. All right, so now we're going to add some fun elements to this little folio. We're going to add some stacked pockets on here with and a flap in the middle. So, and it's also going to have a pocket at the bottom of that flap. So we'll start with these stacked pockets, which are going to go inside our front cover. I need 3 pieces, a 6-inch by 3-inch and 2 6-inch by 2.5-inch. Did I do that right? Maybe. Yes, maybe. I'm losing it today already here. Well, that's not 2.5. Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'm going to have a 2.5-inch pocket here. So these actually, I want to stack them in this front section here. I apologize, but I only want to go down 6.5, so I have that 1/2 inch on the top. So that means that my bottom pocket here would be 2.5, and then 1, 2, 1. Yes. So these actually need to be 2.5. It's fine. We're going to cut the corners off. So 2 6 by 2.5s and 1 6 by 3. Put these in your scoreboard, the 6 by 3 with the 6 across the top here. And we're going to score it 1/2 inch. And then we'll score it 5.5 inches. Put that over this way just to make sure that 1/2 inch lined up. And then you just want to go ahead and score this at 2.5 the other way with your 3 at the top. Okay. And I did that upside down, but that's okay because I put the side that I write on to the back. So we're going to angle these and cut out that square on the bottom. We don't need that. Also going to angle this top one on both sides. You can miter straight across like so as well, and it works the same way. So that's our first bottom pocket. These we are only going to score the 2 6 by 2.5. You're going to score it 1/2 of an inch, and then again at that 5.5. Flip that around just to make sure that your 1/2 inch is lining up, just in case you cut your paper a little short. Go ahead and bring this one in and do the same thing. So 1/2 and 5.5. And then we're just going to turn these. And I want to go in and put a little tick mark at 1/2 just to that bottom score line. Okay, it's very hard to see. Let me redo this score line so I can try to get it a little better for you. I hope you can see that. So you're just doing a 1/2 inch from the edge to the score line, okay? And you want to do that on both sides. I'm going to have to flip it for this side. Or if you have a scoreboard that goes to the end, you can do it that way as well. So we're just doing 2 1/2 inch marks on the bottom there. Do the same thing with the other. Go ahead and flip that around. And I have my 1/2 inch marks for those. Okay. And now we're going to cut these. So where you cut, where you did that mitering, scoring, we want to miter at an angle here. And then we're going to do the same to this bottom corner as well, because you don't need that corner hanging up. Same on the other side. We're going to miter. And we're going to miter. And that's what you'll have. And go ahead and miter those tops as well. I'm going to do that on both of those pieces. That's a belly band. I'm grabbing the wrong pieces here. All right. Make sure I'm on the right side of what I'm doing here. Just never know with me. You just need that bottom piece so it can slide in the pocket before it. It causes it makes it so you don't have as much bulk if you were just to stack a bunch of pockets up, which is nice. And making your pockets this way too eliminates a lot of extra paper. So you won't have to cut as much of your pattern paper. So it's a great project for scraps for sure. All right, so we are going to also have a piece that is 6 by 3. We're going to go ahead and do this one. We're going to score this at 1/2 and at that 5 1/2. Make sure that that is 1/2. And then put it in your scoreboard with the 3 at the top and score at 2 1/2. And we're going to go ahead and miter this one as well. Sorry for the noise. That's my ring hitting my scoreboard. You also will have a 6 by 2 piece. This is going to go somewhere else in the book. Put it in at 6 and score it as well while I have this out. 5 1/2 inch and 5 1/2 inches. And so you can tell that if I wouldn't have done that, this would not be the right width. And because this is a belly band, I want it exact. These are just pieces we're cutting that will go on other pages. And I have them cut already, so we might as well get our scoring done for these. Set that aside. And I have one more cut out, which is a 5 by 7 flap. I'm going to put this in at the 7, and I just want to score it 1/2. No need for any mitering unless you choose to. I actually probably will. I do like that it makes my pages turn a little better, even though this goes all the way across the top. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to miter this. This will flap on top of a pocket that we have. And so you'll have a pocket, and this will magnet to the top of that pocket. I believe I did that right. Let me just double check this. Yes, that's right. Okay, so set all those 3 pieces aside, and I'm going to get my scoreboard out of the way. And we are going to do the stack pockets, which is this first panel. So this is your cover. On the inside is where we're going to put this. Now, I am going to mat in white using the 65-pound smooth. And I have those cut out over here. I just need to grab them because I want the white mat, excuse me, under the pocket. So you're going to have those pieces cut, or at least written down. I am going to grab my white 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And I want this to show under the pocket And then you'll have that little pop of white around the decorative paper that we put on the pockets. All right, so I'm just going to put this right down on here. Should have about 1/8 of an inch showing, and I want to make sure that we're lining up decently and that we're not going over this score line on this side. You definitely don't want to go over your score line, and I got that off just a little. Sometimes craft is harder to see, at least for me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm going blind. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to burnish that out. I need to grab my cloth. I don't like using this blue up with the white because I've noticed I cut up old t-shirts that we don't use anymore, my husband's work shirts, and they work really well. However, if they're colored at all and you're using white paper, I do not suggest it. This light gray doesn't do that, but boy, that blue, this navy blue, has a lot of dye in it. Okay, so now we have our white base. Grab your pocket that has the score at the bottom, and we're just going to get this burnished on your score lines. And I have mine upside down, so I'm going to flip this. I wrote on these, and I like to try to remember to put my writing, like my notes to self, on the inside. And sometimes I forget, but I'm going to flip it around because then we get a really good burnish. All right, so I'm going to do the bottom. Oh, that's really not mitered very well. I'm going to go ahead and miter mine just a little bit more. All right, that's fine. So this is our bottom. Make sure I'm in frame here for you. I'm going to do a little tape trick here, just so nothing gets hung up. I'm just going to grab a piece of Scotch tape, and I am going to put that, let's see, this is going to go, yes, to the outside. I'll show you in just a minute. I'm just going to get it on here. So I have the tape right there, okay? I'm not going to put the glue on the sides just yet, just that bottom 1/2 inch. Okay, and then we just want to line that up with the bottom of the page, and it will go all the way over, edge to edge. Or at least it should. And then I want to burnish both the glue I put down and that Scotch tape. And what that does is it just makes it a little easier when you're sliding stuff in the pocket. It doesn't get hung up. Sometimes it gets hung up when you're using paper with the gusset at the bottom like this. It'll get hung up on the gussets. Okay, so then I'm going to fold in my 1/2 inches and go ahead and put glue on those. And I actually was doing these a different way, but I watched one of the other designers do these stacked pockets this way, and I actually think it works much better. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish that bottom pocket. Nice, easy peasy. Now I want to make sure that everything still moves, and it does. That's great. Let's grab our first 2-inch pocket. So we have just the sides that we need to fold in and burnish. There is no bottom score line. What there is a little notched bottom that will slide right in here, and it will tell us where to stop when we put this in, if that makes sense. And then you have pocket, pocket, pocket. Okay, I'll go ahead and add glue to those side tabs. This one also is not looking very... I'm going to go ahead and miter that just a touch more. There we go. How about this side? Sometimes I don't get quite a good enough miter, and then the pocket won't fit right. So you got to make sure you try to get those mitered really well. That's not enough glue. All right. Now I'm going to pull these in, and we're just going to slide that right down in the other pocket. Right to that stopping point. Line it up. There we go. And then burnish. That go in there straight. It looks like it did. And then our last one, I'm going to do the same. Okay, so when I got that in there, I decided this pocket, probably the top one, should only be 1.5. So I just trimmed a 1/2 of an inch off of there. So it would have been a 2-inch rather than 2.5 by that 6 inches. But you can, if you've already done it, which you probably have, because we're doing this together, you can just trim it down so that it's now 2, and it's 2 inches by the 6 with the same 1/2 inch score lines. Do everything the same. You just want to shorten it by 1/2 of an inch. So again, we're just going to add glue to these side tabs. And I just threw my glue in the garbage can. And we will slide this in on top of the tabs underneath here. And that just, the reason I did that is I wanted a little bit more of the top of the page showing than I had with it the other way. So now I have that. Burnish that down. And voila, we have a pocket here. Pocket that goes all the way to the end. And this pocket will also go all the way to the end. Okay. So, easy peasy stuff. For this side, we have the one that we did at 6x3. We're just going to go ahead and burnish that pocket. So burnish all your score lines all the way around, and double check your mitering when you do that. If you have any parts hanging over the corner a little bit, you just want to go in and snip that a little bit more so that it's right at the score line. Otherwise, your pocket can get a little messy, and I'm really picky about my pockets. I don't like them messy. This, if you cut it right, it should line right up on the back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and burnish that nice and neatly. Here we go. Add glue. We're going to do the same thing with the tape trick. Probably want to put the tape on first. You don't have to do this. This is a preference of mine. I learned this, again, from one of the other designers. I never had seen this before, but it really does help. It keeps that page, whatever you slide in that pocket, from sticking on your paper, and it's amazing. I like it. All right, I'm adding my glue, and then I am just going to put this right to the bottom of this page, making sure I don't go over my score lines. Let's see where that's at. Whoops, I popped it off. Sometimes that happens. All right, scoot, scoot, scoot. And I'm going to cover it with paper, but I meant to put the 6x3 marking on the inside of the pocket, not the outside. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a burnish. Get that glue down. Flip it open and burnish it on the inside as well as the tape. So that's all nice and burnished, and then we can add glue to the sides. And just pull that up. Now that looks like it's going to get in the way of my score lines. I might, we'll see here. Yeah, it's not over far enough on this side. I'm going to have to pull mine off and move it over a bit, which is fine. Just do, if you have to do this, just do it very carefully. And actually, it doesn't matter that it ripped the paper, because guess what? I forgot to put my white mat down. So again, we're going to grab another one of those 4 7/8 by 6 7/8 if you're matting. I don't know how I forgot, because, well, I just did. All right. I don't put a lot of glue on my bottom mat on the inside, just make sure that the outsides are good. And I just want to line this up with the one on the other page as well as I possibly can. All right, burnish that down. I'm not sure why I do that or where I picked that habit up from. I just don't feel the need to put a whole bunch of glue on the very bottom one. There we go. Now we can put our pocket on. So I'm going to go ahead and re-glue this pocket. This time I got to make sure I get it off to the left more. You want it centered right in between those score lines, and somehow I got mine way over. I'm going to open my book, actually. You can do that too. You can open on the score line and then butt it up to the score line and make sure everything's going to open nicely, and then line it up everywhere else. And that should make all the difference. Let's see. Yes. All right. I'm going to go ahead and, oops, I don't have glue on the sides. What am I doing? Burnish down that bottom and that tape. And then we'll add glue to the sides again because my little boo-boo, and I'm just going to leave that little boo-boo in there. So you can see that it does come up if you do it quick enough. Now, if you're unsure, then it might rip your paper a little. In my case, it was okay because I hadn't put my mat down yet. All right, let's make sure everything opens and closes, and it does, which is amazing. Sometimes you have to make these a little shorter than the page, but this is working out just fine. Double check the bottom. Good job. Okay. Now I have my bottom pocket. Now we're going to grab that piece that we cut 5 by 7 and scored across the top at 1/2 inch. I'm just going to burnish that top score line down really, really well. And this we're going to glue. And I probably should have slipped this under the white. I didn't think about it. I think that's why I had forgotten to put the white down. But I'm going to put pattern paper on this anyway, so you won't see it. So we want to get this same thing. We want to line this up with the pocket as well as the score lines. Make sure both of them open and close, and they do. And then just make sure this goes all the way up to the top, which mine does not. Add a little more glue. I like to start off with a little glue, and then I can always add more, just because I don't want to not be able to pull it up if I need to. All right, that's better. Make sure everything's opening and closing, and we're a little crooked here. It's probably my score line, not the actual paper. That's good. And you can make this skinnier too if you're worried about getting in the way of that score line. You can do it however you want. I might actually have to go in and trim this a tiny bit. It seems like it is going, no, it's fine. All right, so this portion will have a magnet system. So I'm going to grab a plus and a minus magnet from over here. And I'm using the basic gray magnets. Sure, what's going on here? They don't want to come out of the package for me today. You can also do a tie here if you don't have magnets on hand or you prefer not to use magnets. You can do it either way. So I'm going to put the plus and the minus together. And I am going to peel off the plus. And I want it to be right under the edge of this flap. So right about there, just put my finger on it and pull it up. And then I will peel the minus backing off that magnet. And we will fold this over, make sure everything is lining up. And stick that down, and then you have your magnet there and your magnet there. When you add paper, it will cover all that, okay? So then we're going to have a belly band on the cover of this to slide something in, I think. Is that what I was doing? I don't even remember. No, I apologize. This belly band goes over here. So move your pull out. Okay. The belly band goes in this last one. So this was our 6x2, scored at 1/2 inch on both sides and mitered. And if you don't want to, if you want this a little tighter, you can take these down to 1/4 inch tabs, or you can just stick it down on both sides. All right, I'm gonna add, first I'm gonna dry fit this and just make sure I cut it right, which, look at that, I did not. What do we have here? I cut it wrong. Yes, this is 4 3/4. Because we have this on here, well, that should have been 5. Not quite sure how that happened. Oh, it is 4 3/4. I apologize. Okay. So the 6x2, we're just going to move. So we would have had a 4 3/4. So it would have been 5 3/4. So we're just going to take a 1/4 inch in with our scoreboard. So we haven't glued it yet, so you can do this. So what you do, this is a trick for you. What we have is we have it on the 5 1/2. We're going to move it back to the 5 1/4. And really burnish that good. And then I'm just going to cut a little, about 1/4 inch off of that tab so that we don't have too big of a tab. And remiter the ends like so, and we will fold it at that one, and that should give us a 4 3/4. And it does. All right, sorry about that, but we hadn't glued it, so you don't have to waste any paper except for that little 1/4 inch piece. No big deal. Pull your pull out off to the side, and this belly band is going to fit. I'm just dry fitting really quick right inside of there. So add glue to those 1/2 inch tabs. And I want this right about the middle. So with my Tim Holtz ruler, I want this at 3 1/2 and at 3 1/2. So there. And then I'm going to put this, we have 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put one side on, and then pull my ruler out of there, and then I can see right where I'm going with this, if that makes any sense at all. And it needs to go over just a tad bit. Try to keep it in that middle section, but move it over. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's the same on both sides. So I have 2 3/8 and 2 3/8, just to make sure I'm even here. Go ahead and burnish that. And I forgot the white again. Goodness me. All right, so this one is 4 3/4. And how I like to do this so that I can hide, I don't know if I can do that with this one though. Does it wrap? Probably not. No. Just go ahead and put that on. So we have our white matte down. Sorry for all the boo-boos today. I don't know what is happening. Now we can bring our belly band back in. And we're going to put it on. And I'm just going to eyeball the middle this time and hope I get it. Doesn't have to be right in the middle. You can pretty much put it anywhere you want, but I was trying to be more precise, I guess. And this should go just on the outer portions of the white. Clean that up. And there you have your belly band. And we'll slide paper in here because this paper will be cut small enough that you'll be able to slide it in there, which will also cover those tabs, okay, when we do our decorating. So next what you're going to want to do is add your matting to these pieces here, which is your, why is that full? Oh, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these that are the 4 3/8 by 6 and 7 or 6 5/8, and those will all go down. And I'm going to do that off camera because I mean, you know, just doing it the same way that we did these. This one will have a 4 7/8 by 6 3/8 piece of the white. Yes, 4 7/8, and then we want it to go, yeah, 6 3/8. And then your pocket cover here is going to be 4 7/8 by 2 7/8. Okay, so I'll cut those and get those on. All right, so I have all of my white mats on my pullout so that those are ready to decorate. We're going to go to the last one. So pull this completely out, and this last one, the first one that lifts to the right, is what we're going to work on next. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to grab a 7 3/4 by 3 inch piece of the craft, and you want to score that at half on the 7 3/4 and at 7 1/4, and then flip, and we're going to score that all the way down at a half. Then we just want to miter out those corners and the tops, like all pockets. Try not to hit my ring on my scoreboard so you don't hear it. It's kind of obnoxious. All right, go ahead and burnish that, and I can see that I need to score that just, or miter that just a little bit more. When I fold it down, if it hangs off the edge, that one doesn't, then I know I need to fold it down just a little better. All right, so get these burnished down. And again, I'm going to use that tape trick. I am going to put Scotch tape along the edge of this piece here. And right again, let me show you. I am going to pull this out. So we are at the very last one. When you pull this out, just want to make sure we're on the right one. It's this first one on this side, okay? This is going to be a vertical pocket. So what we want to do is fold that back. And I'm going to add glue just to the bottom for starters. Okay, corner there. And I am going to butt this up with my white paper just a little beyond it. Make sure I'm lined up top to bottom. And that I have that hinge not covered, because we want to make sure that this will still close. So I'm going to check, make sure, and it does. Okay. So now I can burnish. Get rid of any excess glue that we have. And burnish the inside as well. Make sure that tape is burnished down to the paper really nicely, and then we can add glue to our sides and put those down. Next up, I am going to go ahead and tell you these pieces again for cutting for your mats. So this one's going to be 4 7/8. This is your white mats. So 4 7/8, 6 3/8. The pocket is 4 7/8 by 2 7/8. These pockets, so the bottom one will be 4 7/8 by 2 3/8, and then if you're going to mat these two, they are also 4 7/8, but they are only, I would say, probably 2.5 inches for each of these. But if you're going to mat and pattern them, so if you're going to do the white and do the pattern, I would suggest putting them together so they're the same size and then sliding them in, just so you don't have a bunch of bulky bumps and lumps.